It's a mighty day in the calendar, isn't it? Anzac Day.
Yeah, good morning, Janie and Tim. It's a great day, and particularly now that a lot of the COVID restrictions are lifted, we're seeing school kids coming out and being involved in Anzac dawn services for the first time. So it's a great day. Great day.
And Glenn, how did you? Were you up this morning with the dawn service? I believe with perhaps your son Nicholas as well.
Yeah, I marched in the Corrimal RSL dawn service in March. We just got back a few moments ago, back to Corrimal RSL. Amazing. So Nicholas couldn't get up this morning. He had a big day yesterday playing outdoor laser skirmish. So he'll be doing services later in the day. But a big turnout here. About 3,000 people here in Corrimal. So an amazing morning so far.
I know what the challenges are of getting children out of bed on occasions. Now, Glenn, turning to the real significance of what this day is about, where does it touch you, my friend?
You know, Tim, I really agree with Peter Dutton in this regard. My focus, and indeed I think the community's focus, is becoming very much on current serving members of Defence and contemporary veterans, so recently returned veterans and their families. So very much commemoration of the past on one hand, but a big focus on the welfare of the living and the memory of more recently fallen comrades.
And we heard earlier this morning Prime Minister Scott Morrison make mention of the Afghan soldiers. We currently have 800 in Operation High Ground now. What other soldiers are serving at the moment?
Janie, I think there's 80 actually in Afghanistan. There's about 400 in the Middle East in total, but we have Australian forces still all around the world. I understand there's about 20 in South Sudan. There's 3 in South Korea. So we still have peacekeeping forces and other operational forces deployed all over the globe, commemorating Anzac Day in their own way in deployed locations.
It's a perfect day, Glenn, to talk about a subject that's very passionate to you, and that is life beyond the battlefield, life when you get back as a civilian. And it's important to reflect on that because there are so many challenges for so many servicemen and women.
Absolutely right, Tim. And this is where I think that the governments, really state and federal governments, are starting to get it right. They're starting to focus on transition out of Defence, and Veterans Affairs, to its credit, are also picking up their game there. Transition out of Defence back into civilian life, back into work if possible, or certainly a degree of normality outside of Defence. So it is a big issue, and it's a key issue with veterans' mental health and the welfare of their families. So it's a big issue, and yes, it's key in our sights.
And Glenn, regarding the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide, how have the families been involved in the drafting of reference?
That's a very good issue, Janie, and I've had some communication this week with Julianne Finney, and she's been speaking to some of the other families. The families must have a guiding hand in the drafting of terms of reference for this Royal Commission. We can't leave this to Defence and to Veterans Affairs to draft the terms. We need the families absolutely involved in this, using specialist resources, lawyers and special expert medical people and others. But so the families are keen the families demand to get involved in that, and I'm absolutely supportive of that. We cannot leave this in the hands of Defence. This is too important and, quite frankly, too critical for the future of our servicemen and women.
All of us have got a story to tell. Well, most of us have relatives that were in the military back in the Second World War or the First War. And I had a great mate who was in the Second World War. We used to always go to the Anzac Day service. He's long gone now. But the traditions throughout the course of the day, the having a quiet drink, the catch up with friends, it's all very important to what this is all about.
Yeah, that's right, Tim. This is one of those days where I think the RSL clubs really come into their own in supporting the RSL sub-branches around the country and hosting veterans and their families and the broader community. Anzac Day is a community event, really. It doesn't belong to the RSL or indeed belong to veterans. It belongs to the community, which is why it's so good to see so many people getting out there and attending these services, and afterwards for adults having a beer and maybe a round of two up in the clubs. So mate, you're right. It's a big day on the Australian calendar, and it's really good to see people getting out there and getting involved in the game now that we can within some constraints.
And you yourself had 2 Anzac days on operations. I do believe we have a couple of photos to show, one in East Timor and one in Afghanistan. Talk us through what happened there.
Yeah, I had a couple, as you say, Jane, I had a couple of Anzac days on operations. Most deployed service people over a number of years will get to have an Anzac day overseas. So, Timor and Afghanistan, it's commemorated as per in Australia, I guess, without the alcohol, really, but a little service usually, and then back on with operations. But I was interesting when I came home from my last operation, my last Afghan deployment, 2 days or 3 days before Anzac Day, home to a brand new baby, and then off to an Anzac march in Gundagai then. So marching in Gundagai, 3 days back from Afghanistan with a brand new baby. So that was my last Anzac Day post service.
Glenn, it's always good to chat with you. Enjoy today. It's so much more special this year because last year we had no people. And as you mentioned in this interview this morning, that is what a lot of Anzac Day is about getting together with people and remembering and celebrating what this means to everyone in this country. Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.